Hello, my name's Lily Head and welcome to another one of our Dental Business Transaction podcasts. All of our podcasts are available on our website, easily downloadable through Apple, Spotify, Podbean and Google Podcast. Video recordings of many discussions are also available through our YouTube channel, so please do subscribe and watch. Now, today I have great pleasure in introducing Catherine Rutland, Clinical Director at Denplan, who you know is part of Simply Health. And Denplan is an affinity partner with us at Lilyhead Dental Practice Sales. So Catherine, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Lovely introduction. Yes, I'm very well considering. No, I'm pretty good. Thank you.
Let's start off our chat with a little bit. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your role at Denplan, just to give people a flavour of what you do.
Yeah, so obviously I'm a dentist. I qualified a very long time ago in Leeds, and I worked in hospital for a little while, for about 2.5 years, which I loved, and then moved out into general practice and did, as it was then, VT, before it changed to the numerous things it's been to before it got to FT, and then moved down sort of further back down south to be closer to family. Bought into practice, so was joint owner of a practice in West Berkshire for almost 20 years, and through that became my affiliation with Denplan. So I then started about 10.5 years ago, or just over 10.5 years ago, a day a week at Denplan as a little dental advisor, doing a day a week, just I think learning more than I was advising at that stage possibly, and then as I was explaining, it kind of got sucked in, and I'd been sort of forced out of clinical dentistry by a recurrent autoimmune eye condition, and I knew that was decreasing my clinical ability, so I did a master's in medical ethics and law, and then a qualification in risk management, and then mentoring and coaching, all as my role built as well, which was fantastic. So I feel very privileged to have the role I have. I went into this role as clinical director just over a year ago. Love what I do, very passionate about what I do. Anybody who's met me knows that. Huge passion for the profession and for dental teams as a whole as well. So yeah, that's kind of me.
So it's a very full life you have. And before we talk a little bit about the challenges at work, hobbies. Now, I know that you are an open water swimmer.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I love to swim, full stop. I'm much more comfortable in water than anywhere else, certainly from an activity basis perspective. I've always done it. I've loved it. I got into open water swimming probably about seven years ago or so, mainly because I kind of booked myself onto a trip to Greece to do open water swimming, and then thought, oh dear, better maybe do some of this and see if I can actually do it. So I've done several trips abroad doing open water swimming. I just love it. I love the freedom that the water gives me. I love the headspace it gives me. I think that's the main thing as well. Normally I'm lucky enough where I'm the club I'm a member has an outdoor pool, so I normally swim outdoors all year. So I have to say it's been a huge struggle for me this year from the perspective of lockdown, in the sense that that's my main let out, that's my main calm collection, and actually to have had that repeatedly removed wasn't so bad in the summer. I could get out, get into lakes and so on and get some headspace, but yes, I've really missed it, not to be able to have done as much as I would normally do this year, but no, it's great.
I mean, I do what you would consider to be nanny paddling at the local baths. And mental note here, I'm never going to take you on in a race. Such a wonderful way of relaxing, and it's a start to the day exercise for me. Not in the same league as you, but nonetheless, it's your own little bit of headspace, as you say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking about work, let's talk about the changes of ways of working, because we're certainly seeing it here. But at Denplan, how are the changes of ways of working? How's it panning out?
As a company, we're quite organised. Actually, we saw what was coming and started to plan. So we had almost 1,000 people out of the offices on the first day of the first lockdown. Huge sort of combined effort and work. But obviously the main thing was the safety of our people. As you know, you were in that same situation, was to make sure that our people were safe and working from home as much as possible. And that was almost actually the whole company. So very, very different way. I've had to learn to be disciplined and walk away from work. You know, it's very easy if you're in the office, to stop, make that cut point, drive home, whatever it is, walk home, but learning to adapt and change. And obviously at a time when, for the profession, it was very difficult, and a lot of trying to find the right support for people, and right support for practices at a time when they were really shocked in lots of ways at having been closed down, worried about their patient care, all of that kind of thing, and obviously but changing guidance all the time. So for us it was about making sure that any guidance we provided was correct, and just supporting our members through that time and ongoing into this year, and the continuing different ways of working and the struggles that are associated with it.
Yeah, I remember right in the beginning of the very first lockdown, because I don't know about you, but I compartmentalise it, the big one as I call it, the first one, the most serious one. We had a conversation when you rang me about, you had some clients of Denplan who basically had just literally shut the door and just couldn't face the uphill struggle. They hadn't got the emotional capacity, the mental strength, the fortitude. Did you lose many practices that just said, this is it, I'm just walking away?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we saw was how people sort of had, I suppose, time in those weeks when they were closed completely to actually reevaluate what they wanted from their working life. So I think there was a combination of factors in that people who maybe had been thinking about retirement, it made them think about it harder. Obviously for certain groups of people, depending on age and general health issues or family general health issues, people were suddenly pushed into positions of feeling very uncomfortable to go back to work, even when things started to open up. So it really shifted people's perspective, and made them rethink. I think, dentistry is classic that you qualify, you go to work and you keep working until you retire, and that's it. We don't, it's not normal in the profession to take sabbaticals, to come out of it. We all work very hard, work long hours, especially if you're a practice owner. You're so in the thick of it all that you don't really ever get that opportunity to step back from it and really think about, hang on, is this where I want to be? And I think it gave people that opportunity to think about it, some in good ways and some not so good ways. And as I say, then what we did see was this huge variety of risk, sort of what their tolerances were and what they were comfortable to go back into practice, and not just them but their staff as well. I think that was the other side of it. It was fine, you as a dentist might want to go in, but actually what do your staff feel like? Are they comfortable? What's their situation? Are they worried about taking it home? All of that kind of thing. So we have seen probably more practices close at relatively short notice than we would normally, and people just maybe having to think about, I'm just going to shut the doors, as opposed to taking the time to sell. So I think that, I would say, would be a change in a normal year that we've seen, but it's been less than we thought it possibly could be. But I think the ramifications for that will still continue through this year. I think we'll still see that.
Yeah, we, as you know, when we've discussed this in the past, I'm pleased to say that now we are finding an enormous number of first-time buyers coming to the market looking to buy practices. So yes, it's dented a lot of people in their confidence, but it's also been a huge challenge. And on the whole, I would say practices and their management team have been massively supportive. And it's given a lot of people time to work on their business rather than be so busy working in their business. And it's no secret, that we ourselves, us directors at Lilyhead Dental Practice Sales, we've been doing personal business coaching and carried on working throughout the whole business, even though the industry per se was sort of shut down. And at the moment, it's looking good, and we're seeing practices actually thriving and increased turnover and doing very well. And we wondered whether it might be a short-term spike. It's a bit like not being able to get your hair cut and what have you. The minute the doors are open, everybody rushes in and then it flattens out. But I have to say that we are seeing sustained, improved performance. And so that's really good. But I think without a doubt, it's been one hell of a year. So let's talk about the positives then, really. Just, the positives that have come out of this for you guys. There must be some things that please you with all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, certainly for my team, I'm very lucky to run a fantastic team that provides clinical advice across the company, and into that comes advice around goodwill transfer and that kind of thing. So we do that, and I think one of the things that I always love to do is to feel that we are able to support, and we have been able to do that massively for teams this year for different practices. And I think the other side of that then is for us as a company to have been able to again relook at how we support our member practices and how we can keep doing that moving forward has been a really important part of everything we've done this year. We've taken time to reflect on every decision we've made. Was it a sustainable decision? And very proud of what we did manage to achieve last year. Things like the £2 million PPE donation to our member practices. That took a lot of work within my team to make sure we had the right engagement with the suppliers, to make sure there were going to be change of PPE for people who were worrying about, if we do get back to work, how are we going to do this? Are we going to have the right kit? So I think it's that mixture of kind of financial but the clinical side that we can give, which is a little bit different to us compared to other providers, is that we have that slightly different lens on everything that we do. It's not just about a business transaction, it is about the clinical and regulatory support that goes with it, and does that fit with anything else we support on.
I think that's very valuable, because in this time, it's probably made a lot of your members reach out to you more so than they ever would have done before. I know you have your members, your portal, your members forum pages, but people are now actually looking to you for advice and for guidance and for help. And it's great that you've got the teams that can go out there and do all that for them. And you mentioned earlier that you had some practices that sadly were just shut the doors. But are you seeing other clients that are just selling sooner than they'd thought? They've decided that maybe in the next year or two they don't ever want to wait for a second wave of this or what have you. Are you seeing much of that?
I think what's been interesting, we've seen a change over Christmas almost, which is you wouldn't expect it. People have been back working for over 6 months. Well, it depends on the jurisdiction, but most people have been back working for 6 months or so. But I think almost where people took a bit of a break over Christmas, that coming back to work and being back in that the horrible PPE that they're having to wear and the tiredness factor of that has made people stop again, I think, and sort of really thinking, actually, that sort of excitement of going back to work, it's not quite the right thing, but there was that, in June and July, there was that sort of adrenaline burst of, right, we want to get back, we want to get seeing our patients, we want to get everything in order, and there was a real kind of oomph and drive. And then the reality, I suppose, over Christmas of this is going to go on for some time, we're going to be wearing this kit for some time, I think has again made it's just those bits of time that give people the time to think, how long do I want to be doing this for? And then I think the important thing is, so well yourself as well, is you still need to make sure you've got your practice in order. If you want a good sale, if you want, to find a good buyer for your ongoing care of your patients, if you want to be attractive as a practice, you need to put all of those things in order. And it can feel, I suppose, especially at the moment when, if you are tired and worn out, your energy's low, and do I really need to do that? But you and I would both say, yeah, you do. It absolutely leaves your patients, which at the end of the day is what you've been working for the last however many years, to make sure they're protected and looked after. If you want that ongoing for them, putting in that bit of effort to get a good sale, a good pathway through, a good transition of care, and a good value for yourself, and it is worth putting in that extra work and still doing those things that you would have done pre-pandemic prior to a sale.
I agree. I think something that I would always advise people is that, and obviously we meet a whole variety of clients who are thinking about selling, should have sold, wanted to sell but couldn't, lots of reasons. And some people think that, what's the point? It's too late. It's too late for me to now do anything about it. It is what it is. And my message to those people is is it's never too late to do some work on your business. And that's why I know with your teams that can advise people, but always get help, because even the smallest changes can make such a difference, not only to the way you work, but the overall profitability. And it's never too late to get some advice and get the right people around you and on board. And so it's talking to people, isn't it? It's talking to your business area consultants and starting with them and speaking to people like ourselves and dental accountants and getting everything in ship shape, because not only will it ultimately be beneficial for them financially on the day that they decide to go, but also just the smoother running of a business. So this is the time really to shine that big old torch down the drains and see what's down there and get it sorted out.
And I think also, you know, it's that thing of making sure that when you leave, you can leave and you can go and there aren't problems afterwards and there aren't issues. And I think absolutely, as you say, is ask for help. There's so many people around, you know, I think if you think about it, it's, you know, you buy a house more often than you buy a practice, and yet when we come to house buying, we're all quite happy to take advice from everybody and get everything we need to get, and nobody thinks about that because that's what you do. But somehow practices, people, which you probably only sell, most people only buy and sell once in a career, is that we don't take that same advice. And yet, as you say, there are so many really good people out there who can help you. You know, we're seeing it day in, day out, you more than me, but I still see a huge amount of the transactional changes. And, you know, obviously we have a large number of those goodwill transfers going through every year. And I see the good consequences of that and the not so good consequences of that. And, you know, just as a little bit of help in those stages of planning to buy, or for both sides, for the buyer and for the seller, I think that's something that I would reiterate as well. Is, you know, I remember when we, you know, bought into our practice, you know, when I look back on it, we knew nothing. You know, we knew nothing. You think you know everything, but you don't know anything. And then it's so hard when you first buy it. So, and there are so many more people around now who will help you as a buyer take that advice before you buy as well, because it will make those first years, probably, actually I was going to say months, but actually it's years that you own your practice, will just make it so much more enjoyable for you. And as you say, with so many more first time buyers around looking, and as younger associates and so on think about it, really important they take good advice from people in the industry. It's very easy to take advice from lots of people around you, family members, friends, everything. But dentistry is a very unique little funny little profession and industry, and you need good advice from the people who work in it.
And get the people around you that you know that can trust to do the very best for you, and not someone who has another agenda for themselves or just sees you as another, you know, few more pound signs. You need somebody that understands you, gets your business model, and also gets you to think outside the box. Because even if you're not thinking of selling in the immediate future, there are different ways of working within a practice. And sometimes getting that coaching, getting that business advice can make you look at other revenue streams as well as streamlining what you do. So it's never too late to change the way things are. And often I find that the staff are pleased to have a bit of a shake-up and the new ways of working. Once everyone's got over it and settled down to the new ways of working, it's often very, very beneficial. And we see at the end what the difference that can make. So just finally, let's just talk about learning differently. Obviously, I mean, it's, you know, from our sake, we're not driving all over the UK like we used to be. And I know many of your team did the same. We would come and attend all your meetings. How's it going your end with online learning and webinars, etc.?
Yeah, really good. I think, you know, massive change, as you say. You know, we haven't physically seen each other for however long. You know, normally we'd have bumped into each other at shows and various different things, and that has gone. And I mean, I am a big believer in face-to-face stuff. I love that. I love the support that you get, the networking that you get with live, but we can't do that. So I think how everybody's adapted has been fantastic. I mean, you and I probably didn't even know what a podcast was before the pandemic, you know, and I think that whole change of adapting and embracing new ways of learning. Webinars for us has been fantastic. I mean, we picked that up very, very early on, that there was going to be a gap, and how could we keep everybody occupied, as should I say, and Lewis McKenzie, my head dental officer, had started literally on Easter Tuesday. So he really came in right into the thick of it, and put together with Dental Update a fantastic programme of lectures that, while everybody was off, gave them focus, and we had some just great feedback on that. And we realised how many people wanted to watch that. I think that first series, there was 55,000 registrants over that time. It was amazing. So gradually, and that's just the number of registrants. Obviously, a lot of those listened to a lot of the webinars through that. So we built on it through last year, learnt, listened, took the feedback, what could we change, and moving that into this year as well, because we know, when are we going to be at a live events stage, or certainly from a planning perspective, how are we feeling comfortable enough to do it. And as I say, things like podcasts, communicating differently to people, letting people find different ways. I mean, be lovely to have face-to-face back, but I do think these new ways of working and learning, I think, will continue. And it does mean we can get to speak to more people. And, if you think for you and I, not so much travelling, can actually communicate with vast areas of the country in one period of time, and one call, one whatever it is. So it's some of it will be here to stay for a long time, I think.
And I couldn't agree more, because whilst, as you say, it's lovely to meet in the flesh, you can get through a lot more work. I mean, today I had a call from somebody that wants to introduce us to one of their clients, and it was like, boom, got a Zoom call booked in, and otherwise that would have meant a sort of 4-hour, 5-hour round trip. And it's instant communication, and then you can eventually get to meet them. But initially you can have those face-to-faces and start to see people and start a relationship with them. I think it's going to be the new way of working, without a doubt. Shows, I don't think we're going to be going to any this year for sure. But obviously 2022, it'll be very interesting to see how well attended they are and what the public opinion is too. But I think probably people will very quickly recover once we're all out and roaming around again. And it'll be a very strange thing to be roaming around the M25 and up and down the motorways. Quite a treat at the moment to do it, I tell you now. Well, that's really great. It's been lovely talking to you, and I hope very much we can talk again in a few months' time. And spring has sprung. We're nearly there. I can see the green shoots of recovery popping up everywhere. Certainly, we are extremely busy. As it happens, actually, Abby, my MD, is writing a market update today for Denplan. So when I mentioned we were having a chat, she'd got her head down and she was filling in lots of reports for your guys over there. So that would be good to share. Is there a good way, Catherine, for people to reach out to you or your team to contact you on any matters? What's the best way?
I think, the best way, I think, always for anybody is to, pick up the phone to people, speak to people, get in contact with people. If you're not sure who your consultants are, then get on the website, put in your postcode, and you can see who your consultant is for your local area. We always, very happy to talk and talk through things with you, and we'd much prefer to know well in advance of what you're thinking about doing, so that we can help and support you, than leave it to last minute when so much is done and then you've got to kind of backtrack a bit, and nobody wants to do that. So that's the best way, through the denplan.co.uk website. Lovely.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Thank you once again for your time. It's been great talking to you. Good luck with the open water swimming. And look forward to catching up with you very soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Lily.